Ross from Yamaha and the new Yamaha THR100 HD. Very exciting new amplifier that Ross showed me a few weeks ago. Very secretly brought it in a little black bag.
A bin bag.
A bin bag, and we hid it at the back of the shop, and he took me through some tones on it. I was very, very impressed. So Ross is going to talk to you a little bit about what it's about and how it works, and then we'll both do a little bit of playing and show you some sounds as we go on. So over to you.
Hello. So we've got the THR100 HD. There's two models of head in the range. So we've got the THR100H, THR100 HD. The D simply stands for dual. So there's a dual channel version and a single channel version. On the dual, they're exactly the same. Okay, if you want them to be. Here's the really cool thing about this. It's 100 watts, switchable down to 50 or 25. The dual channel version is not a dual channel amp. It can be in its simplest form. You can plug into input 1, come out of output 1 and just use it as a dual channel amp. But they're not channels. They're completely independent, discrete amps. Their own input, their own output, their own effects loop. You've got dials on the back to select different tube types for each amp, topology, so class A or AB. You've got a DI output on the back as well for each amp, where you can load in different impulse responses. So super versatile just on the face of it. So you'll see on the front panel, that, like I said, they can be set up identically. They've both got the same 5 different amp models, boost, reverb, EQ, the lot. You can combine the 2 amps as well, so you can have either one on or off, combine the 2, and that's where it starts to get really interesting. The cab we're using is the 212 mismatched speakers, so the left hand side's a little bit brighter than the right hand side. So we've got them both mic'd up. Hopefully that will come across and you'll hear when we combine the 2 amps how amazing that is. That little intro section, we did a little bit of that. And it just lets you create your own sounds, and that's the whole thing with this amp. So the 5 amp models, you know, they definitely have the soul of classic amps, and you can dial in classic, you know, Vox, Marshall, Boogie, Fender tones very, very easily. But it's not really about that. It's about creating your own sound. When you're combining the amps, that's where it gets really cool, and you can actually create sounds that technically shouldn't exist. A 6L6 Class A kind of, you know, crunchy sound, if you like. It shouldn't really exist, but I mean, we'll run through some sounds and you'll hear it. It's really good. A huge thing about this is the touch responsiveness. So reacts very well to volume control, to different pickups, different guitars, to the player, the dynamics of your pick attack. It's a really, really good feeling amp. It's loud as hell. I've gigged this and it's astonishing. It really is. It moves a hell of a lot of air. That is largely down to the new power amp section that we've developed. So it's simulating again the feel and the dynamics of a real tube amp. Okay, so traditionally solid state or digital amps particularly, the damping factor is really high, so the speakers are quite stiff, adds to kind of an amount of spikiness that you can get with some of those amps. This is a very low damping factor, so the speakers move and react just like a proper good old school tube amp. So you're instantly at home with this. Control wise, you know, straight out of the box, you know how to use this thing, which is hugely important. That's a big thing. Through the software that you can rig this up to a computer, PC or Mac. Very simple editing software. You get to choose from 3 different boosts. There's white, green and amber, which is essentially models of
classic overdrive, should we say.
Classic overdrives and boosts. The boost is, if you like your amp boosters very micro, your overdrives green,
yes,
and make the tubes scream, and for the kind of slightly higher gain boost stuff, if you're very OCD about your gain pedals and you like them full of tone
in an orange way.
Yeah, amber. There you go.
Yeah.
But the good thing about that is you can, like I say, you can select each one individually per amp. and have them on or off selectable. So if you like the boost always on your clean amp, but not on your gain amp, you can do that, vice versa. So really versatile. 4 different types of reverb, and they're taken from our SPX units. So astonishing, world-class quality. So you've got spring, hall, plate, and room to choose from. Really simple, 1 knob, so it's just more. You know, no extra parameters. Through the software as well, that's where you load in your impulse responses to the DI. There's already a load in there that you can select from, different 412s, 212s, etc., different mics and positions, but you can load in your own too, which obviously is hugely important. The effects loop you can send series or parallel to. So again, depending on what effects you're using, it's quite a valuable little option.
So it is the tweaker's paradise.
It really is.
As a lot of these amps are, but as Ross said, it's just laid out exactly as you would expect to find an amplifier. It can be as simple as you want it to be. And I've not looked at the manual for this amplifier, and I've got a good grasp of how to use the front panel. If we were to plug it into a computer, I'd hand it over to Ross because he's obviously spent some time doing that. But just to set it up and get some good tones, you don't even need to touch the manual, you can just use it like any traditional amplifier.
And that was a big thing that we were going for with this is, you know, it is a slight departure from the original THR range, which obviously is designed to be your third amp. You know, you've got your stack, you've got your combo, you need something at home to practice with. A big call that we got was we want that but be able to gig with it. What we've actually ended up with through a lot of research, a lot of talking to customers, is something actually really, really special and very different. You know, there isn't an amp out there at the moment. There's been things and there are things where you can combine different sounds, but nothing that is completely 2 totally discrete amps. And whilst we're going into different speakers on this 212 cab here, you can have completely independent cabinets. For example, you're a 2-guitarist band and you want to save some room in the truck, yeah, or save some hassle and all that. You can have 2 guitar players plugging into this, and we'll probably do that a little bit later on, and you can show me up. You know, from a teaching perspective, that's cool as well. But being essentially a true multi-amp rig, having completely independent signal paths, and guys out there, Eric Johnson does this, so he has specific effects that go to 1 amp and then another amp. So your chain of effects can be different for each amplifier as well, not just in the front end but the effects loop. So it is really super versatile. It sounds incredible and it feels incredible, which was obviously a massive point, what everyone wants to see.
I mean, my view on it in terms of the THR range, a lot of people said they wanted the bigger gigging THR, and it's exactly what it is, but you can still take this home and use it at home, so you can have your favourite sound live on stage, in the studio, at home. You've got it all just in the one box. So yes, it is the grown-up THR in many respects.
Yes.
And some.
Absolutely, and you know, yes, it can still be your third amp, it can be your main amp, and yeah, use it at home, use it live, use it in the studio.
And it doesn't weigh anything.
It's like under 5 kilos, it's insanely light, yeah, and the volume it kicks out and the air it moves, it's a little bit kind of defies physics almost.
So I think it's probably time for us to get some guitars on the go and do a few different tones. So you've got the Les Paul in hand there. Would you like to do a few more examples with the Les Paul?
Absolutely, so we can get that kind of really sparkly clean Fender style thing. And this is set up for the amber drive at the moment, so kind of fairly low gain at the moment. So just on amp 1, you've got 2 really cool sounds there, and again, it responds incredibly well to different guitars. So you know, single chord guitars, you'll lower the gain and all that. The setting on the back was set to 6 L6s. and Class AB as well. And just to kind of show how much that varies the tone, if we go to EL84,
which would be my preference.
Yeah.
With a Les Paul especially.
And Class A, you have a different, more feel than anything, but a little bit of the low end off, a bit more kind of high end, a little bit in the mids, you know.
That's without touching the amp on the front. So if you think in your head you want a clean that's slightly driven, but the tone wasn't quite right for you, you change the valves on the back, change the response, A to AB, and you've found the sound that you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And just how the amp's set up at the moment, so we go to amp 2, we sit on crunch, and that's actually EL84's Class A. If we stick amp 1 back to 6L6s, you can kind of hear, obviously, a huge difference. Combine the two amps. So really clean, little crunchy, get the boost on as well. And again, just turning amp 2 off for a minute. And then on. Very different sounds. Combine the two.
So you've got two distinct tones, and when you stick them together, there is a sonic difference, but there's a feel as well, the touch. People talk about this three-dimensional sound with guitar amps and trying to find that thing. And it is actually there in this amp. I've played through other kind of simulations of multi-amps before where they might digitally say that there are two amps coming out of the same pair of speakers, but because we've got two different amp sections of two different speakers, all of a sudden it blooms and comes to life.
Yeah. And you can do the mono thing with this as well if you just want to combine two sounds. I mean, this particular cabinet, you have the option of going in to one input and using both speakers at the same time. But still combining the two amps,
and
two
that
channels.
Is still quite three-dimensional when you do it as well.
Absolutely, it makes a difference to the sound, and like you say, the feel as well. There's you look at Joe Bonamassa and the way he uses his multi-amp rig. He has his core bass sound, and then he adds various other amps into that. And his thing is, well, they all sound different, but they all feel different. So it's a different dynamic, makes you play differently. But it's fun, and you can
have a lot of fun creating.
Absolutely, and like I say, create sounds that actually on paper shouldn't exist.
So should we change to some different guitars and get a few different sounds now?
Absolutely.
Cool. Right, so we've got the Strat that Ross is going to play here, exactly the same tones. He's just going to go through all the settings again, but with a different guitar and show how different it can be.
Okay, so the clean amp. Dirty. Boost. And dirty. Combine the two. This is actually a really good kind of tone to show you the dynamics of this thing and how it really responds to your pick attack. So you kind of roll your volume down. we're going to get Mark to play a little bit for us now. We've set, again, both amps up completely different. They're both on the crunch setting, but amp 1 we're running KT88 tubes, Class AB. Amp 2 we're running 6L6s and Class A. And you'll kind of, again, hear a huge difference in sound. Mark? Spanky and bright. Amp 2 real honky mids, a larger rounder fatter bottom end. You combine the two, they create this amazing soundscape. Click in the booster, with all that gain, still cleans up brilliantly. Okay, moved over to the monstrous 7-string. Too many strings for me on that one. Really super sparkly clean tone here. So on amp 1, we've got the clean, which is more of a clean tube amp. And on amp 2, we have solids, which is a solid state clean amp. Again, very different sounds. Just wait. Amp 1, we've got both amps set up Class AB. Amp 1 is running KT88s and amp 2 is running 6L6s. And just sounds very piano-like.
Yeah, you might say why we're doing a clean tone for a 7-string guitar, but I play a 7-string with my band and there's a lot of clean tones in there and it's all about it sounding really bold and really, really large, but just as clean as possible.
Yeah. So we're going to explore some of the heavier sounds out of this. Whilst it's more of a kind of a boutique modeling amp, if you like, and really kind of shines with those in-between sounds, which are really difficult to get with a lot of modeling gear, it absolutely can do the really high gain stuff, no problem at all. So amp 1, we've got set to crunch, KT88 tubes, Class AB. Amp 2, we have set to lead, with EL34 tubes, again Class AB. We'll just flip between the two amps, put them all together, kick in the boosts, and see how tight and fat it can be. And
just to prove the point of, I mean, when Ross first brought this in to show me, he didn't really think, he'd not thought about playing high gain metal through it, which first thing I thought was, let's do that. But I'm also going to show you how much the volume control still is responding with the high gain pickups and the high gain setting on the amp. So I'm going to bleed it in a little bit to go from kind of moderate to full on. So.
And I can't play this kind of stuff, so.
He says he can't.
Fill your boots. And if we want to go a little bit more, even more brutal than that, we set both amps on modern, completely different tubes. So 6L6s, EL34s, wind the gain up. You'll kind of see how tight this thing still is. So amp 1. Don't really, and then you could add the booster on top of that if you really needed more gain, but if you need more gain than that, then you need to go and find some help.
But I must add that feels like plenty enough gain, and it sounds like a lot of gain. It's barely hissing, there's no noise gate in there. I wouldn't use a noise gate with that. It's hardly making a sound.
Something I forgot to mention, with the editing software, there is a noise gate accessible in that you can add to it as well, which is obviously a nice little addition.
Excellent.
Cool. I think that kind of pretty much covers it. Brilliant amp, loads of fun, hours of tweaking if you want to, but like we say, straight out of the box, you can just get a really great sound immediately. You know how to use this amp. It's just an amp. It's like every other amp. The fact that you have all these different options, and something we didn't cover is the weight. It weighs nothing. It's like...
Either it weighs nothing or Ross is Iron Man.
I'm ferociously strong, yes. There we go. Thank you very much. Come and check them out at Richtown.